Welcome to another episode of Explained by AI. Today we're diving deep into Bitcoin ETFs
Yeah.
and what they mean for Bitcoin's future.
It really is a pivotal moment, I think. The implications are massive.
Yeah.
I think we could be looking at a whole new era for Bitcoin.
For anyone listening who maybe isn't quite sure what a Bitcoin ETF is,
Right.
think about how you would have invested in gold way back when.
Okay.
You'd need a vault security.
Yeah, the whole shebang.
The whole 9 yards.
Exactly.
The gold ETF lets you invest in gold without dealing with the actual physical gold.
That's a Bitcoin ETF is the same idea.
Okay.
You can tap into Bitcoin's potential, but you don't have to worry about wallets, private keys,
Right.
or, losing your Bitcoin in the digital abyss.
Now, the SEC, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, they've been really hesitant to approve these for a long time.
Oh, yeah. They've been notoriously cautious
Yeah.
for good reason. I mean, they're worried about market manipulation, the potential for fraud. Bitcoin's world has been largely unregulated, but then late last year, big shift.
Yeah.
They approved 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs.
And that got everybody's attention.
It did. It wasn't just the crypto folks anymore.
Right.
Suddenly you have these giants, BlackRock, Fidelity, ARK Invest, all jumping in. It's a seismic shift when Wall Street makes a move like that.
Yeah.
The entire financial world pays attention. It's a sign that Bitcoin is moving from the fringes into the mainstream.
Oh, we saw it almost immediately. Bitcoin's price just shot up.
Oh, yeah. Toward $90,000 practically overnight, that surge. Pure demand ETFs have basically opened the floodgates for a whole new wave of investors, people who were hesitant before. Now they have an easy way in.
BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust, for example. $2 billion in investments first week.
That's not pocket change.
It's not.
That's institutional money making a statement.
Big time.
What this means for you, the listener, is that ETFs, they've made investing in Bitcoin easier, potentially less risky.
Yeah.
You buy into a Bitcoin ETF, just like you'd buy a share of Apple or Google.
So for folks who want exposure to Bitcoin, but don't want to become crypto experts,
Right.
ETFs are like a shortcut.
Yeah, they are. But important to remember, every investment has risks.
Well, for sure.
Bitcoin is volatile.
Yeah.
And the regulations, they're still changing.
It's not all smooth sailing. Let's talk about what this means long-term for Bitcoin's future. Are these ETFs, are they a fad? Or is this like a fundamental shift?
I think spot Bitcoin ETFs are a game changer. No doubt more investors equals more demand. And that demand, it could push prices even higher.
So the Bitcoin to the moon crowd, they might be onto something.
They might, and all this institutional money coming in. It could also lead to a more stable market.
Okay.
Fewer of those wild price swings that Bitcoin is infamous for.
Yeah, the roller coaster ride, it's a lot for some people.
For sure.
Bitcoin's starting to look more like a legitimate
Just asset.
Absolutely less of a speculative gamble, more of a respected asset class.
But here's the thought with Wall Street getting involved.
Yeah.
Doesn't that kind of go against Bitcoin's whole original idea?
You're right. It was supposed to be decentralized, the people's currency, free from big institutions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So is this like Bitcoin being co-opted by the very system it was meant to disrupt?
It's a valid concern, and it's a complex issue.
Yeah.
There are no easy answers. The reality is Bitcoin's future is probably going to be this balancing act between its decentralized roots and this growing acceptance by, the powers that be.
Let's focus on the opportunities for a sec. How are people actually using these Bitcoin ETFs? Is it just buy and hold, or are there fancier strategies going on?
Well, one of the main uses is portfolio diversification. Think of it like an orchestra.
Okay.
Lots of different instruments playing together to make a harmonious sound. Your investment portfolio, it's kind of similar.
So you're saying Bitcoin is like that one instrument with a unique sound.
That adds something new to the whole.
Bitcoin tends to march to its own beat, often moves independently of traditional assets like stocks and bonds. Adding a Bitcoin ETF, it can potentially reduce your overall risk by spreading your bets like a safety net.
For when the rest of the market goes haywire.
Exactly.
We're also seeing institutional investors use Bitcoin ETFs as a hedge against inflation.
Oh, yeah. Big-time central banks print more money. Value of traditional currencies can erode.
Bitcoin with its limited supply.
Right. It's like a digital gold rush. In the face of all that money printing, it's attracting investors who want to preserve their purchasing power.
I know some of our listeners are thinking, this is great, but I'm not a hedge fund manager.
Right.
How do these ETFs work for the average person?
Think of a Bitcoin ETF, like a mutual fund. You buy shares of the ETF, which holds a basket of Bitcoin, and the price of those shares, it goes up and down with the price of Bitcoin.
It's a way to get in on the action without having to become a crypto expert overnight.
Exactly. You don't need a digital wallet. You don't have to worry about private keys. You don't have to navigate all the confusing crypto exchanges. You buy and sell ETF shares through your regular brokerage account just like any other stock.
So it's basically simplifying the whole Bitcoin investment process.
It is. It's lowering the barriers to entry, making Bitcoin accessible to way more people.
That's huge for anyone who's been curious about Bitcoin but felt intimidated by all the tech stuff.
It really is. The rise of Bitcoin ETFs is democratizing access to this potentially transformative technology. It's a fascinating time to be watching this all unfold. Yeah, it's really exciting to see how this all plays out.
We've talked about the basics of Bitcoin ETFs, how they work, how they're shaking things up.
Right.
But let's look ahead. What does this all mean for Bitcoin's future?
I think the introduction of these ETFs, it's a watershed moment. They're going to reshape how Bitcoin is perceived, how it's traded, how it's used globally.
What are the key forces at play here?
Well, imagine a world where you can buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin, pay your rent.
Wow.
Send money internationally, all with just a few taps on your phone.
So Bitcoin isn't just an investment anymore.
Right. It's a real usable currency, part of our daily lives.
That's the dream.
It is. And ETFs are speeding up that transition. They're making Bitcoin more accessible, more understandable, more acceptable to the average person.
Like they're bridging the gap between the complicated world of crypto and the everyday financial stuff we all do.
Exactly. And as more people invest in Bitcoin through ETFs, its value is probably going to go up, which will attract even more attention, driving further adoption. It's a positive feedback loop.
But does that create a risk of a Bitcoin bubble? What if the price gets too high too fast?
There's always a risk of bubbles with any new asset class, and Bitcoin's no different. But the institutional investors coming in through ETFs, they could actually help stabilize the market.
So instead of those crazy price swings,
right,
we might see a more gradual, sustainable growth.
That's the hope. Institutional investors tend to have a longer-term view. They bring a level of sophistication that can help smooth things out.
But let's be honest, there are still challenges. Bitcoin has its critics, and they make some good points. What are some of the biggest hurdles Bitcoin needs to overcome to really reach its full potential?
I'd say one major hurdle is regulatory uncertainty. Governments around the world are still trying to figure out how to classify and regulate cryptocurrencies. Clear, consistent regulations are essential to build trust, to encourage wider adoption. It's like trying to build a house without a foundation.
Yeah, without clear rules, businesses and investors are going to be hesitant.
Exactly.
Another challenge is scalability.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Bitcoin's network can only process a limited number of transactions per second, which can lead to delays, higher fees when things get busy.
So as more people use Bitcoin, the network could get bogged down.
It's like a highway during rush hour. Developers are working on solutions, but it's definitely a key area of focus.
And, of course, there's the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining. That's a hot topic.
It is. The energy-intensive nature of mining is a valid concern. As Bitcoin grows, finding sustainable solutions for mining is crucial.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
We need to harness this technology's potential, but we also have to address its environmental footprint.
Absolutely. It's a challenge for sure, but I'm optimistic despite these challenges. I think Bitcoin's future is bright. These ETFs, they're a major step forward, paving the way for wider adoption, greater integration into the global financial system.
It's been fascinating to explore this whole landscape with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've covered how Bitcoin ETFs work their impact, the opportunities, the challenges.
It's a lot to unpack.
It's the story of Bitcoin. It's still being written. It's a story of innovation disruption.
And the pursuit of a decentralized future.
If this deep dive has piqued your interest, keep exploring.
Yeah, definitely.
The world of Bitcoin and crypto, it's always changing.
Constantly evolving.
Staying informed is key.
Knowledge is power. Understanding these new technologies, it can empower you to make informed decisions about your financial future.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin ETFs.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful.
And engaging.
Do you have any topic that you would like to have explained? Drop it in the comments.